Okay, let's begin with the opening mantra. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Slowly open your eyes and let's begin. Let me get into share. Okay, let's take a quick recap. So, I keep saying the same thing again and again. Traditional sannyas versus Krishna sannyas. We're clear. I should delete that line. We understand what sankalp is. We understand how Krishna says, only if you drop sankalp, you're a yogi. So the whole idea of surrender. That is why devotion is the final thing. That's why even in Yoga Sutra they say it's ultimately you need grace. Without that, nothing is going to happen. What yoga root is a very important term that we learnt in this particular chapter. Yoga root means the one who stays untouched. And Sadhguru, in the recent satsang that I was with him, he said there must be some space within you that nobody can touch, only you have access to. So that was like inspirational for me to hear. I don't know how to do that, but yeah, how nice to be to have such a space within me that no one else can touch. It's just me and that little space around me, and that's just for me. Uh, then he spoke about the importance of samatva bhava. Basically, samatva, balance is very important. And we spoke of Bhagavan ka nirantar chintan. Vichar is different from chintan. Chintan is like a smaran. It's like the thirst that we spoke of. It's a thirst. It's constantly there. It's rising all the time. Then
Hey,
we took.
Swati, sorry to interrupt you. Are you sharing any slides or are you
Yes.
just
Are you?
okay?
You're not
Not
seeing the.
no,
No,
not seeing the
How
slides.
come? The
It
slide is on.
says you're sharing the screen,
Can you?
double
Can you
I'm
click
see?
to
not.
enter. It's
Can
a
you see
double
Yeah,
the?
click to enter the full screen mode.
Are you able to see now?
no.
It is on that. I'm going on that now.
It says Swati Pandey has started sharing screen sharing. Double click to enter full screen mode, but not seeing any slides.
You're not seeing any slides. That's weird. Wait. Why is all this happening? Yeah. Uh,
Are you on a dual screen or
no, I'm on
no?
single screen, old laptop. So is now nothing is happening, huh? Okay, let me go back to the original one. Are you seeing it now?
No.
How can that be possible? It's showing on my system your screen sharing.
It says double click to enter full screen modes. I don't know what double click, where you click. Yeah, good.
Yes, but now you're on mute.
That I can remove. Okay. All right. So then samyak karma. This is a very important idea. What do you mean by balanced karma? A balanced action where Osho has explained this idea that how much energy are you putting into a particular action? Does it deserve that kind of intensity? Because if you put all your energy into actions uh, which are trivial, then you will have no energy left for your sadhana. So, how are you expending energy towards what action? That's something which we must remember. When I was practicing with Manoj, he was so careful about like movement. That's why in Ashtanga Vinyasa, it's like every breath and every movement is synchronized. So they say when you do that, like when people practice Ashtanga Vinyasa, they are not able to. They will take 2 breaths in one movement because, the body doesn't have that capacity. But my teacher used to say, one breath, one movement, no extra breaths in between. This is a 5 vinyasa movement. It should happen only in 5 vinyasas. Of course, as beginners, you end up with 8 or 10, and that was allowed in the beginning. But the objective was to come to that state where you lengthen your breath, your body becomes so capable that it moves in that synchronicity. The idea was that the virya is contained, energy is contained, and you do not spill and leak energy in unnecessary movement, in unnecessary breath. Breath is life, and everybody comes with a definite number of breaths in this life. So that was the whole, if you look deeper as a philosophy and the foundation of Ashtanga Vinyasa, that is what it is founded on. And that aligns to this samyak karma. That is also action. It's like an action on the mat. But is it samyak? How much energy are you expending? Now, if I need props, I've got to go walk here, there. So much energy goes into that. So, just an idea, because many of us are practitioners. So, just to reflect on that and remember samyak karma. Now, in search of sukh, or in search of, what are we in search of? We all want sukh. Even in the name of spirituality, we want sukh. But sukh will definitely bring dukh back. The journey of a spiritual aspirant is freedom from dukkha. It's not in search of dukh. And Buddha is, our inspiration for that. He went for freedom from dukkha. We spoke about how we all are vibrations. I had shared the, that link of water and how crystals and how the geometry forms on that depending upon the vibrations that it is exposed to. Thirst versus vichar, we've spoken of that. Sorry for the typo. Mastery of mind does not happen by making it dead. We spoke of that, how, the mind has the tendency, it will run after things of utmost charm. And when we are saying to you best become the master of the mind, it's not about make it dead and kill the mind. Then what's the point of a mind like this? A mind, someone who is a master of the mind is someone who has the capacity to put your mind where you want, when you want, for as long as you want, and pull it back when you don't want to do it. That is mastery of mind. I'm till date, I think this is a line which I read about meditation in a Buddhist article, and it stuck with me. It was so powerful. Put your mind where you want, when you want, as long as you want, and when you don't want, you pull it out of there. I thought it was so powerful. I wanted it. I don't think till date, I've got like that kind of mastery. It still runs on its own. It still swims. It still slips. And I'm like, why is my mind going here? I'm, these days, sometimes I become aware I'm listening to Guru Puja, and I realize, oh my God, in the middle of Guru Puja, my mind just went here and there. And I'm noticing this is happening to me. It's not that I'm not aware that I'm doing Guru Puja, but I'm also aware, what Rabbi, where is it running? It is thinking, it's like, these images are flashing on the mind. Despite that, I was like, okay, fine, this is how it is, just accept it, move on. I mean, this, Vinay had shared he put something on Chat GPT on Krishna and, the disciple of Krishna. And one of the things that Chat GPT replied is that, see, Krishna does not want pure spiritual beings and saints as his, disciples. He accepts the confused like Arjun. He accepts thieves, robbers, anybody. So it's all right for me also to, be in these confused states, to be lost and still hope that, yeah, Krishna will still be there. He's looking after me. Today, this is my state. I can't help it. Today, I am in a little, my mind is dilapidated. So this is how I am, and it's okay. All right. So that is what we had covered. Moving on. Great transcendental happiness. So this idea of Ananda will come to the yogi whose mind is calm, whose passions are subdued, who is without sin. Very important. Now, whose mind is calm, passions are subdued, who is without sin, पाप से रहित ओशो बोलते हैं, and who sees everything in connection with God. So Osho बोलते हैं, he's somebody who, so he begins with this. So Mind is calm is something that we addressed last time. Mind is calm when you also have that mastery over the mind. Then you decide where it is going. And also the play of gunas will decide how the mind will become calm. So he picks up on this idea of passion. See, if there is too much passion, how can the mind be calm? It cannot be calm. So passion creates vrittis in the mind. It will not allow it to be calm. Passion also creates sin. Okay, and this word passion is connected to the rajogun. We'll look at it. So Osho begins like this. He says, Paap se rahit, the one whose rajas has become peaceful. Only such a person will come into a state of this calm thing and transcendental uh, happiness. So first, the important thing to understand is what is paap? What is sin? What do you define as sin? Just think for a moment. What is sin for you? See, a traditional definitions of sin is, violence is sin, chori karna paap hai, theft is paap, jhoot bolna paap hai, lying is paap. This is a traditional definition of. This is the definition of sin. Okay, this is what we are taught even as children. Now, violence is sin. Hurting someone is sin. Okay, this is a definition. This is a form of sin. Correct? Agreed? This is a form. This is a way we identify sin. Lying is sin. So if you lie, then this is a definition. This is a way I will identify sin. Now, Osho bolte hain, paap and sin will keep changing from culture to culture. Sometimes it even changes. Definition of paap or the form of paap will change from one era to another era. It can change. What is considered paap in one era may not be considered paap in another era. It depends also on a person's level of consciousness. So he says, to say that sin has a form and not understand its actual nature will create problems for you, because then you will start getting limited in your understanding, and this directly connects with our yama of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, because there we learn, he says, like Sadhguru says, no, you are saying that I should not lie, I should always speak the truth. And that example that if I'm encountered by a terrorist, will I speak the truth? Is that paap, or speaking the lie is actually the punya? So these definitions become gray because one needs to understand what is the nature of sin. So the way they explain is that, see, we can say the bangle is made of gold, the necklace is made of gold. So this is a form of gold, correct? Are you able to see the screen? Yeah. So this is a form of gold. But if it's just a square gold, and suppose, will you still say that this is gold, or will you say that only bangle can be gold and necklace can be gold? If I just see a slab of gold, I will say that this is not gold because this is slab. I am identified with the form of gold and I don't know what gold is. Does that make sense? Correct? I'm identified with the form and the shape that gold takes, just like the shape that sin takes, but I don't know what sin is. So now, if a new form of paap starts happening in our age, a new form of sin, we will not understand it if we don't truly understand the nature of sin. So, for example, in ancient times, donation was considered a great punya, isn't it? Charity is considered great punya. In today's time, when people do donation, what kind of donation is it truly punya? First, they accumulate black money. To convert black money to white money, they are doing donation. Will you call this a punya act, or is this a paap act? So these definitions and forms will change. One has to understand what sin truly is. What is its nature? Forms are peripheral. They are superficial understanding. So that is the first thing that he explains. Understanding of the form is incomplete. Understand the formless nature of it. Now, why does sin happen? So Osho goes into explaining the gunas. He says the reason for sin to happen is rajogun. बहुत ज़्यादा movement है, it's a certain action that just comes out of you. just shouted at somebody, lied, or just too much rajas, too much movement, a desperation to do something. People are killing people meaninglessly so much right now in the news. Brown University, it's 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 ridiculous. Just the kind of shootings that are happening. What is causing it? That police officer, the shooting the lady in the head because she was blocking, uh, and not one, three times. What is that? Rajogun, isn't it? Is it coming out of a sense of balance? It's not coming out of a sense of balance for protection. That that ICE officer is saying that I did it for my protection. Really? Three times you had to shoot a woman in the head to protect yourself? Where is this coming from? So this is Rajogun. It's gone crazy. It's whirling. So understanding what is, first we need to understand what is tamas and what is rajas. So we know that all of us are made up, we all have a certain nature. What is nature made of? Nature is made of rajas, tamas and sattva. These are the three qualities of nature. We are also made up of rajas, tamas and sattva. Now tamas is the obstructive force in nature, that force which stops. It's very important, it is very necessary. For example, if you throw a ball up in the sky, if there is no downward pull of the earth, the tamas, the gravity, the ball will not never stop. It will keep going, 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 going all the time. So tamas is the obstructing or the stopping force in nature. Rajas is the kinetic force. That which makes things move is rajas. So Osho goes in his thing, he even explains you can press the accelerator, but for the car to move, petrol is needed. So it's like that energy which makes things move. Uh, okay. So So if there is too much rajogun, so see this rajas, tamas, sattva as like an equilateral triangle. Rajas is at 60 degrees, tamas is, if rajas comes at 60-degree angle, tamas also comes at 60-degree angle, rajas and tamas cut each other and sattva is established. Then you are in that point of balance. So rajas is not something which has to be annihilated, nor is tamas to be annihilated. It cannot be, because this is your nature. What has to be done is it has to be balanced. If you try to annihilate rajas, what will happen? So Osho says, then you go into sleep. In sleep, there is no movement. Of course, there is still subtle movement. Dreams is also subtle movement. But still, by and large, I mean, it's an example he gives. In sleep, Rajogun has become quiet. Tamas is very active. But there is no awareness, there is no knowledge in that state. So it is still not sattva. You are, it's almost, it's like a dead body kind of a state, okay? So he says, even for knowledge, to know things, rajas is needed. Knowledge requires rajas. It requires the gati of your mind to be able to understand, to be able to assimilate. That gati of the mind is required, but has to be directed appropriately. So tamas creates stagnancy. It is a static force. Now, see, tamas is very important because if you don't have this static force, you cannot even stop in Paramatma. Suppose you only have rajas. It's like the ball that is being thrown. It will keep moving, moving, moving. It will not, स्थिरता नहीं आएगी. वो कहाँ ठहरेगा? That ठहराव is necessary. That place where it will stop, where it will become still. We speak of the still point in yoga. That still point will happen with tamas, even to stop in Paramatma, even to stop in God, even to establish oneself in God and become yoga rudha. That, the rootedness in that rootedness only comes from tamas. So never think that tamas is negative and rajas positive. Anything can be negative, positive. It depends upon, how it is being applied or how it is being understood. So this balance happens when rajas and tamas begin to cut each other. Osho also explains how rajas energy is likened to a very masculine energy. It is the energy that wants to move. Tamas is a very feminine energy. It is the energy that absorbs. It is the receptive energy. It's like the womb, it receives. and it can sit. It can simply sit. If the womb is not, if that stillness is not there, how will the baby grow? You need that tamas, no? That fetus is growing in absolute darkness, in stillness. Uh, if you can, that's another way to look at it. So tamas is the feminine aspect and rajas is the masculine aspect of nature. Then, as he speaks of sin and explains rajas and tamas, Osho says there can be, uh, a pap, um, a tamasic person's pap. Let me not tamas pap. It's like a tamasic person's pap. See, which may look like punya to you, but it is not punya. It's actually a pap of a tamasic person. So look at this. See, if something wrong is happening, okay, say all these shootings are happening, there are people who will do nothing about it. They will just stay quiet. They will simply stay quiet. They stay quiet because they don't even have the energy to talk, to raise their voice, to say that this is not right, or to speak against authority. So that much rajas is also not there. At one level, someone will see their quiet as they are such calm people, they are not disturbed. But no, that kind of calm and not being disturbed is not true sattva. It is it is a negative part. It is a participation or in path, and it is happening due to your tamas. So you are not being virtuous by being by not speaking and not raising your voice against it. That which is right, you must raise your voice against it, isn't it? There's a right kind of uh, like Sri speaks of right kind of anger. I don't want to get into anger, but yes, that expression is important. Does that make sense? So it's not a virtue. It appears like a virtue, but it's not a virtue. It's a participation in pap due to your tamasic nature. So it may appear like punya, or it may appear like sattva, but it is not sattva. It is actually a participation in pap. Uh, so there is this, example Osho gives. He says that there was a man. He's sitting on a beach and he has this knife, and for no reason at all, he goes and stabs a person in the back, and he sees the blood spurting out, and there is delight. He says, "Oh, I liked it." And he is caught by the police. He's taken to the court, and he's asked. He said, "No," he accepts it that yes, I did it. Why did you do it? Just because I was desperate to do something, because nothing was happening. I wanted to move, and I got pleasure out of seeing that blood ooze out and spurt out like that. So I just did it like that. So this is Rajasic energy gone crazy. It's gone to a certain extreme where the movement, there is no thought behind the movement. There is no consciousness behind the movement. It is just happening, just coming out of you. So, so people who may appear virtuous or calm, uh, and who are actually simply तामसिक, ओशो बोलते हैं ऐसे पर्सन में चोरी करने की भी एनर्जी नहीं है. That is the kind of tamas, but they look like they are punya atma, sattva mein established. They are not established in sattva. They have no energy. There's zero on energy. Their angle of tamas is probably sitting at 90 degrees, and rajas is only sitting at 5 or 10 degrees. That is the problem. So it's a very skewed triangle. So in our whole practice of yoga, what we are trying to do is come into that equilateral triangle. And it's interesting. That's why I spoke of the triangle, how triangle is the most basic form of energy. And it is these three things, rajas, tamas, sattva. And yeah, if you listen to the Linga Bhairavi Devi chant, she is one of the lines, among the 33 names of the Devi, one of the things is said she is Trikonantara Vasini. She is also the one who is, it doesn't come under the 33 names, but in another chant, she is referred to as Trikonantara Vasini, the one who resides in the center of the triangle. Because once the equilateral triangle gets balanced, then the Devi also becomes your source towards liberation. If you remember in Yoga Sutra, we spoke of that triangle, and when everything gets balanced through the center, you go into Shunya. So she is called as Trikonantara Vasini. She is also called as Shunya, the one who resides in Shunya. She's also Shunyavasini. So, all right. Now, this is something that Osho had mentioned. He says, General Montgomery in his memoirs, he says that there are people who can have a lot of knowledge, but they do no action. So no one really benefits from them. They're, they're just to themselves. Then there are people who are totally ignorant, but they engage in a lot of action. He says 99% of the population is like this. They're ignorant and they engage in action. They'll do a lot of harm to the world and to themselves. Then he says there are people who are jnanis and who engage in action. He says these are very rare births. I would see people like Osho, Sadhguru, Sri Sri fall in these categories. People who are jnanis and do not engage in any karma, these are the people who are sitting mountaintop, Himalaya yogis, sitting there not engaging in the world. Now, he does say that there is no benefit from them, but still at another level, their mere presence on our planet and their vibrations do have an impact. But I think from an explanation point of view in terms of this sutra, this is how Osho has presented it. Then there are those who are ajnanis, who are totally ignorant and don't do anything. He says those people are also rarely born. So he has classified. So we need people who are jnani and sakriya, who do action, and this portion of ajnan plus action oriented people, we need to reduce that. And this was his observation on rajas tamas tattva that he has observed in people. So okay. Happiness. Now remember, when we started this sutra, the 27th shloka, it says great transcendental happiness comes to the person who is free from passion, mind is calm, and devoid of sin. Okay. Such a person. So what is this happiness? So just taking from somebody has sent a chat message. I can't even see it. Pooja. Oh, she got it. Okay. Yeah, we addressed that.
You
Pooja.
you answered it right after I sent it.
Okay. I didn't see that. All right. Okay. So from Swami Mukundananda's commentary, he says happiness can be classified into 4 categories, and this he has taken from Bhagavatam. He said there is tamasic happiness also can happen. And what is tamasic happiness? That which is coming to you from narcotics, alcohol, violence. Just sleep, eat, vegetate, rot, do nothing. And yes, that kind of happiness is tamasic happiness. What is rajasic happiness? Just gratify the senses and the mind. See, all of us, and this is, I keep saying this because it has been reinforced into me so deeply by Osho and by Sadhguru, that the mind wants entertainment, not enlightenment. And people like us who are intellectually inclined can fall into that trap. So we have to be very aware that at some point, mere intellectual curiosity, mere intellectual study is not the way. It's not taking you anywhere. It's just rajasic happiness. The mind is being entertained because the mind likes to move. We have that rajas energy, and it gives us an opportunity to move the mind in a certain way. So that is also a gratification. Knowledge pehi, we enjoy that. The knowledge, the lectures, and all of that. So we have to it's all right. Some of that is also necessary because it brings understanding and it settles the mind. Once the mind is settled, it's easier to sit in meditation. Otherwise, if questions are constantly bombarding and they are making too much noise, then you need that. What is sattvic happiness? This is the pleasure experienced through practicing virtues, compassion, service to others. Stilling your sadhana brings sattvic happiness, and the bliss of self-realization. Then there is a 4th kind of happiness, which is nirguna happiness. This is the transcendental happiness. Prashant Manasam. This is a divine bliss of God, which is infinite in extent. Sri Krishna explains that the yogi who becomes free from material contamination, and we'll speak of material contamination in the next shloka, becomes united with God, attains this highest state of perfect happiness. He has called this unlimited bliss in the 5th chapter and supreme bliss in 6th chapter. Okay. Now, Swami Sarvapriyananda's comment on this, he says, the source of all joy is you. This realization is the highest realization. So yes, that's the Vedanta perspective. And whatever joy you are experiencing, remember we spoke of Vishayananda, Bhajanananda, and Brahmananda, the three levels of happiness. एक तो जो विषय से मिलती है, जो ऑब्जेक्ट से मिलती है, बाहरी ऑब्जेक्ट से मिलती है, but it is because that outside object is going and touching something inside you, and therefore whatever happiness you come is actually a little vibration into that layer of anand which exists inside you, but it is covered, that's all. So he says there are three stages to anand. Okay, this is from his commentary. He says the first stage of anand is tattva gyan, where you just have knowledge, where you get this knowledge of ultimate reality and you become a jivan mukta, which means you're enlightened, but you are still embodied. You're enlightened like Ramakrishna. So he was enlightened, but he was still in the body. That is tattva gyan, jivan mukta. But of course, you know, his state of enlightenment or realization was and mastery was such that, you know, he could at will also leave his body. The second state, he says, is manonasha, which is destruction of mind, which means one has become capable of samadhi. And the third is purification or destruction of trace desires. This is interesting. So manonasha is a state of samadhi. This samadhi, in my understanding, can be nirvichara samadhi, which is a very high state of samadhi. The third stage of anand, which he says is purification or the destruction of desire traces, which means seeds of desires are burnt, which is nirvichara, nirbija samadhi, the one who is able. I'm trying to bring the correspondence to Yoga Sutras. Okay, so purification or destruction of desire traces, nirvichara, nirbija samadhi. Make sense? Yeah, these are the three stages of in which one experiences ananda. All right.
Sorry, can you move the microphone up a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, better now. Okay. All right.
You were saying that there was Vishananda, another one, and then Brahmananda. What was the second one?
Vishayananda is the pleasure that comes to us through objects. Vishaya means object. So any object which creates pleasure in us is Vishayananda. But even though we may be using an object, it could even be an ice cream, you know, but the pleasure is happening inside you. So the ice cream is touching a layer inside you. So the pleasure is happening inside. It is happening in the layer of ananda which exists inside you. That is the first, Vishayananda. Second is Bhajanananda, where you are singing the praises of God, where you're immersed in God. So the pleasure that you get out of that immersion, those singing, chanting, bhajan, that is Bhajanananda. And the third is the Brahmananda. That is this ultimate transcendental state, you know, the enlightened being state, the Ramakrishna state, where he would, like the answer, he would go into samadhi and, you know, zone out. Like people had to pick him up and drag him. They say that sometimes when he was in the temple and he would go into samadhi or he would come to Agnya, he would become unconscious and people had to drag him. So yeah, that it's a state of Brahmananda, possibly. The self-controlled yogi, thus uniting the self with God, becomes free from material contamination and being in constant touch with the Supreme achieves the highest state of perfect happiness. So see, we can have a materialistic orientation towards life or a God orientation towards life. So Padarth and Paramatma, that is what this is. So what do we want to do? We see, if you have to live in the world, you need objects, right? We need objects. We need materials to be. You need food also. Food is also material. You need some conveniences also. That is also material. So the explanation that Osho gives is it's all right to have those materials. Maya karke sab. There's no need to negate or denigrate any of this. Materials are needed if you are living. Like even those sannyasis or those monks who go to the Himalayas, they'll carry a little blanket, they will carry something, they will carry some clothes. So material is needed, clothes are needed. But if material becomes an object of pleasure, that just out of pleasure, then it's a problem. It's like, you know, you can have, you go to work, you need clothes. You need certain kind of clothes. So you need it because it has a utility value. But there are many of us who can go into an extreme. It's like Sadhguru says, how many lifetimes are you preparing for? How many shoes and how many clothes? So that is the pleasure that we are deriving out of objects. So he explains it like this. He says that consciousness is such that it will start moving in a direction wherever it finds juice, wherever it can draw juice of life from. So if you're drawing your juice of life from objects, your consciousness will get stuck to materials. It will be very padarth oriented. It will be very material oriented. But if you start getting the juice of life from, your mind being absorbed in God, then you are moving towards God consciousness. Atma, then you have that God orientation. So he explains it with this example. He says like wheat hai and there is husk of the wheat. So he says that, see, the covering of the wheat, we think it's like sukh because now usme se wheat milega, hum wheat kha sakte. So we think that, he says, you consider it like this to understand that the husk is the sukh and the wheat, which is the seed, is dukh. Ultimately, all life, material orientation of life will only bring dukkha to you. You cannot sow. If you think that I'm going to sow more sukh and I will get more sukh out of it, then that's your understanding of sukh is like considering the husk of the wheat as sukh. You cannot sow the husk of the wheat and get sukh. You can only sow the seed and get something out of it. And the seed itself is only dukh. Whatever you get out of it will only be dukh in the material world. It's an analogy he takes to explain this idea. So if you take too much rust, if too much juice of life is coming to you only from padarth, only from materials, then whatever you are doing, you're simply sowing the seeds of dukh. But he says, if you are simply using material because, for convenience, for utility value, not taking too much pleasure out of it. It's not like for sensual pleasures, because if you do that, you can sit and keep eating, it will create dukh inside you. Food is also material. Now I like this. It's giving me so much sukh. How many mangoes will I eat? If I sit and eat 20 mangoes, I will fall sick. I will create dukh inside myself. So this attachment to padarth, trying to just keep, milking it to create ras inside yourself, to create pleasure inside yourself, will only create more dukh. Anand is not to be found by increasing the quantity of sukh. Does that make sense? That's a very simple statement which makes sense. You cannot find, we think Anand is keep increasing your sukh, हमें आनंद मिल जाएगा. मुझे mango से सुख मिलता है, let me keep eating so many mangoes. I like this person's company, let me sit in this person's company. Try doing that. After some time, you'll only get fed up. You will only need some break or, want a change. I like this movie. How many times can you watch the movie? I enjoy this joke. How many times will you listen to the joke? It will start irritating you after some time. So Anand will not come by increasing the quantity of sukh. It comes through a different method. It comes by engaging your mind not in material but in Paramatma. So that idea of balanced approach. Why did I put this? The discriminating person realizes that everything leads. This is the one from Yoga Sutras. Parinamatapa samskara dukkhai guna vritti virodha cha dukkham eva sarvam vivekinaha. This is very important. Dukkham eva sarvam. Everything in life is dukkha. Buddha also says this. Everything in life is dukkha. You must understand this. So there is a very nice story. Osho gives this, that when Buddha had decided to leave his palace and his charioteer takes him and, he goes to his charioteer and he says, nahi, mujhe, in the dark of the night, you take me to the banks of the river and I will go. So he's so much more elderly than Buddha. And he says, chota muh badi baat, but I am saying this to you. Why are you leaving all this? You've got this palace, you've got wife, a child, all these pleasures of the world, so much luxury. You are leaving all this and going. Why are you doing this? So Buddha says that you think all this is sampatti. Ye meri sampatti hai, you know. He says you have only seen it from the outside, just like the wheat ka husk. You are looking at the husk and thinking this is a lot of sukh. Why is he leaving all this sukh? He says, I have lived inside this and this is nothing but vipatti. Ye sampatti nahi hai, ye vipatti hai. So he says, if you had lived inside this, then you would have understood. So this is how Buddha explains to him. So that's why he says, life is dukkha. That is how it is. Even Maharishi Patanjali says that. So the wise understand that the consequence of any event in a very worldly life leads to pain. So too much attachment to material, to padarth, materialistic possessions will create this problem. See, I was, I don't know, vague thought crossed my head today. I was like going through this. Why did human beings invent clothes? We invented clothes for protection, correct? It became cold, sensitive areas in the body needed to be protected, so we needed clothes. So it started with the skin of the tiger, deer, whatever, and then, with civilization, it became more and more, it improved, okay? It evolved, the kind of fabrics we had, everything. Today, it has just become about fashion. We have forgotten the original purpose of why are we wearing clothes. It's just become about fashion, statement, personality. And it was like a moment for me, really, It's so funny. I mean, it was just an observation that just suddenly happened to me. And anyhow. All right. So.
You okay if I lower this?
Okay. What within us frustrates the possibility? Mind versus Gura. Can you change? Okay. All right. We're going on further. I wanted to bring this in because we had discussed this also in Yoga Sutra. We had also spoken about that this one of the such a beautiful sutra where Maharishi Patanjali says, Heyam dukkham anagatam. Pain that has not yet come can be avoided. So beautiful. So he first says what will happen, then he will give you a solution for it. And how will this happen? By your sadhana, through the method of Ashtanga Yoga. Pain that has yet to come can be avoided. That is when he goes in chapter 2, and he's explaining this whole thing about how we are nothing but the seeds of klesha and karma. And these seeds of klesha and karma can sprout any time whenever the conditions are right. But if you have certain kind of sadhana, you can burn those seeds, which is so beautiful, no? Even before they sprout, we can burn them. So if we can burn them, then the pain that is yet to come can be avoided. And I find it so empowering, and it gives such an impetus to our practice, to our sadhana. This is what grace is. So, and yes, being a witness, just watching begins to, clean up those samskaras. Okay. All right then. Okay, why did I put this? Just give me a moment. Okay, so this is an example that Osho gives. So how far, if everything is in life is dukkha, and if that seed of wheat is telling me that everything is going to be dukkha, how will I come into transcendental happiness? And we also spoke of this in Yoga Sutra. How far is far? And in Yoga Sutra, they say it depends upon the intensity of your practice. Mridu madhyadhi matratva tatopi vishesha. So depends upon your practice. Is it mild? Is it moderate? Is it intense? What is your kind of practice? And what is the kind of seeking that you have? Are you a mumukshatva? Are you willing to stake everything for your sadhana, for enlightenment? It's like I remember we asked that if in this moment God appears in front of you and tells you what is your wish, will enlightenment be on top of your list, or will it be something else? Do something for my children, give me this, give me that. Enlightenment does it really feature on top of your list? I'm becoming very conscious of this now, because the first thing goes to children. My mind goes to my children. First thing is always that. So I am becoming conscious of that, how serious, how sincere is your longing, and how honest is your longing, really, So
Can I say
Yes,
something?
yes, Pooja.
So I met a friend of mine after a while. Like I've known her for more than 30 years, right? And she's single, so she has no attachments. So we were talking and we've grown up together. And I said, you know what? It's great because, you're meant for enlightenment. You'd have no attachments. And she's like, Pooja, what are you talking? She's like, I've never thought about it, not having a husband. I said, no husband, no child. Yes, you have your mom, at some point she'll be gone and like you won't have anyone else. Like, isn't that amazing? And she thought I was crazy. She said, she said, no, I've never thought about this. I said, I only think about this. So it was, I can tell her because we're so close,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but that is true. Yes, we have our bonds or bondage, whatever you want to call it, but we are in some bonds and they are, you can't just give up those bonds like that. That responsibility exists. So yes, it's interesting to see all that. So
So
how
Swati, is
soon?
it because of, I mean, I see that we are the same boat, all of us. Is it more because of the mind? Because it's like Sadhguru says that in the inner engineering that the neighbor's kid gets sick, yeah, it's okay, kind of a thing. But my kid gets sick, so our thing about because it comes through me or it's my family or my kids, my attachment is much more, and so it goes in parallel with that. I thought, like, I'm right. Is it the more the minus, the more the ego, and then so we blur the line between care and responsibility, like what that needs to be done. But then I mean, all we're talking about yesterday, friends, that we pamper our kids much more than our parents ever pampered us. And we think that we are doing the right thing, but who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
We are making them tougher instead of that. We're coddling them way too much and making it much more comfortable for them.
I feel like that too. I feel like that too. And my husband says that, one of the biggest mistakes we've done is giving them phone at an early age. It's one of the, and they literally, cried and wailed and did whatnot and blackmailed. And I think it really just spoils their brain. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a question. Like, is that a question to me or is that a comment or
No,
statement?
I mean, so what is the right answer? Like, I mean, from a Vedantic perspective, or Gita perspective, like, I mean, how do I, is it then they think, oh, you're too cold, nothing phases you, you don't get upset, you don't like, you always sort of no feeling.
no,
So I say,
not
like,
no feeling. You will have the four components, right? In the Yoga Sutras. That's what we have to build. Oh my God, the Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam. We have to have that with everyone. The problem is we only have that with ours. We don't have it with others. And somewhat, maybe for us, and this is just me thinking, maybe for us being in, having children or having partners, being in that situation, we probably at least know how to care for a child, that we should be able to have the same emotions towards a wider, range of people. That's the way I look at it, at least. I know it's a very high ideal, but if we purify our mind enough, hopefully we can get there.
no, to that, but the perception part, that the thing that you don't react, or you don't feel the same emotion, like highs and lows and everything. I mean, little things that you like.
I think,
How
but
do you not make?
this is what I think, and of course it's theoretical because I lose my mind too sometimes, not as much, but I do. Where you want to show that you care, especially when they're not doing the right thing, even though internally you have to like maintain that equanimity. Now, of course, it's not all the time, but even if it shows up once in 100 times, it's a win. And then two times in 100 times, okay, is improvement. So that's the way I look at it, at least. Like externally, you have to show, right? Because you're still in society, in your family, you have a role to play. You do care. It's not like you don't care, but not letting, it's almost like being at the bottom of the ocean, where the bottom of the ocean doesn't, there's no waves. It's just on the top that there's waves. So show them the waves, but try not to let that affect you. And that's, I think, what we have to, that's the goal. I know
Okay.
it's hard, but that's the goal, I think.
Yeah, I find that thing from Sadhguru very helpful, Manish. एक तो, see, we are studying all this. We have developed our intellect, okay? इतना हमने गीता पढ़ा, हमने पतंजलि योगा सूत्र पढ़ा, कुछ तो सीखा, हमारे intellect में कुछ तो sharp हुआ, कुछ तो clarify हुआ. So Yoga Sutras and Bhagavad Gita are giving us a new lens to look at life. Pre Gita and pre Yoga Sutra Manish is different from a post Gita and a post Yoga Sutra Manish, correct? So Yoga Sutra and Gita is now becoming a lens. This is the lens through which now I will act consciously. I will act consciously, simply that. Not father, not mother. Any action I do, I have to do it consciously. And especially when we are with our children, I recently had this experience. Remember, are you responding to them from a place of bond or bondage? So that became, see, I'll tell you, my daughter has come for a holiday. She's come for whatever 3 weeks. She wants to vegetate. She wants to sit and do nothing. She's sitting on the couch. I see her and I feel like I must be the worst parent ever, because she has not showing any, she's sitting there reading books after books after books, and that's all. And sitting on that couch. Last time she came, she was going for walk. She was doing something active. This time, not even that. She's like, Mom, I've just come here to relax. This is not relaxation for me. And I think I was, so first I was shouting, okay, get up, get moving, go take Vinay uncle's dog for a walk. Do that also. Do something. So it just goes into conflict. Then, I realized, am I just shouting? Because she just kept telling me, it's better off for me not to come. You just keep getting angry with me. I said, do you know what you're doing to yourself? Your back will go like this. I wanted to throw that couch out. I was like, I will not keep it here. You sit on that other place. You sit on a chair. You're not sitting on this couch. Then I realized, so should I not be saying all this? Am I creating bad blood? And then I realized, Manish, no, I have to say it. Because if I don't say, nobody else will. This has to go in her head. Someday she will remember that, mommy used to say this to me. If I'm not here, these seeds are there. So then I was saying, but I was saying it without anger. But I would still repeat. I was just repeating it. Inside me, there was not so much anger, but I was like, this is the dirty old routine job that I have been given, but I have to do it, because if I don't sow some seeds in her, I said, yeah, your friends are also, they don't care about your well-being. They are not interested what happens to you. I'm the one who's interested. And so I'm telling you, do this, this, this. So, and really, I think children at later, now that I've lost my parents and, so many things, not now, even, as I grew up and I left home, so many things that, we used to think my parents are like just so bothersome with these things. I'm so glad they said those things to us, or they dragged us to certain places, whatever, they left us with some good samskaras. It's like leaving them with samskaras, and then they will pick it up at some point. When they are in conflict, they will know that this was given to me by my parents. And so I think conscious action and a quick check on yourself. Am I operating from a place of bond or bondage? Because bondage is compulsion, which happens to me. I see it and I'm like, I react. And then I have to hold myself back and say, okay, or sometimes reword it or come up with a new way of, moving her or doing something else, or keeping the conversation at least friendly. So then I know, just operating from that. You can't leave it also, and you can't, there are no right answers.
You can do what sometimes you used to do. Call yourself in the third person, Swati. Take care of yourself. Take control of yourself.
Yeah, I do that. Do that to myself. But
Exactly.
I do that to myself. Yes, I still do. I do that. Swadhyaya is very important. Naito, we will miss this. So
Thank you for
yeah.
sharing that, from bondage to bond. It's very
Bond to
powerful.
bondage, Sadhguru bolte hain.
Very
Are you
powerful.
in bonds? And really, so many times we are just working from bondage. It's a compulsion in us. Why might? And see, it's like this. No, my child, my daughter, why is she sitting like this? If it was somebody else, maybe I would have said, okay, fine. You don't know how you go more. Also from a place of responsibility. Because if I don't say, who will say? So anyhow, I mean, that's a small issue, but it happened. So, okay. All right. So how to drop this clinginess? More than clinginess, how will we move into the state of transcendental happiness? How far is it? So Osho gives this example of a man who wants to go to Delhi. And he says he meets with a fakir on the way. And he asks him, how far is Delhi? So that fakir says, that depends. So that depends. I cannot give you one answer. You have to tell me which direction you are going, how fast you are moving. Based on that, I can tell you how far is Delhi. So he says, okay, if I tell you that I'm moving in the north direction, he says, oh, if you keep going in the north direction, you will have to take a full circle of the earth and come back. But if you simply turn around, it's 8 miles away. So how far is something? It will not happen by moving outwards. It will happen by simply turning inwards. It's right here. If you just turn inwards, it's right here. If you think it is going to happen by adding sukh plus second sukh plus third sukh will bring me anand, no, you will take a full circle and you'll come back here. So it's better, it's to turn inwards. Then what speed? If you're going at this speed, it will take you this much time. But if you're going at a faster speed, and that is where the intensity matters, and that's where the sadhana matters. So Osho had brought in that example. All right, then the true yogis, uniting their consciousness with God, see with equal eye all living beings in God and God in all living beings. For those who see me everywhere and see all things in me, I am never lost, nor are they ever lost to me. So, see, this is very important. For those who see me everywhere and see all things in me, I am never lost to them. That means they will be able to see me. Nor are they ever lost to me, which means that I can see the one who sees God. See, this is English translation, but जो हिंदी translation है अशोक का, वो बोलते हैं कि I will not be invisible to God if I can see God in all. If I cannot see God in all, I am invisible to Krishna. So Osho bolte bahut, it's a very strange sort of a statement, because we all think that God always has his eyes on us. Not necessarily. It depends. So we'll discuss that a little bit. Now, how do we, the true yogis uniting their consciousness, see with equal eye all living beings in God and God in all living beings? God is Astitva, correct? God is Astitva, do we agree? Right? So formlessness, God doesn't really have a form, isn't it? Astitva does not have form. It's like a sky. How do we see things? If I'm sitting in my house and there's a window and I'm looking at the sky through the window, say sky is God. How does my God appear to me? It appears to me square, in a square white frame. My God sits in a square white frame. If I have 4 windows in my house with a different frame, I see God differently through the 4 windows. Correct? So my version of God through each window begins to change. So what are we doing? We are sticking our frame on that which is formless. We are sticking a form on that which is formless. Does that make sense? We are sticking a form. What creates form? Senses create form. It is how you hear, how you see. This creates a form. When you are looking at things only with your senses, you will always stick a frame on the Astitva. And you will never see it like it is in its formlessness. The one who breaks all windows and just comes under the sky and looks at the vast sky, or he will understand the vast sky or the vastness of God in a different way than the one who is sticking it in different frames. That's why we even fight sometimes. I will say that, no, the sky has sun, but on my side it doesn't have sun. It is dark. I am looking at the west, he's looking at the east. So all of this happens. When you look at it through your senses, it's very limited perception. You don't look at it with equal eye. That is what it means. Darshan nahi ho raha hai, because wo sense perception se ho raha hai. So Osho has gone ahead here and spoken about, so how will you perceive God? How will you see with equal eye? This is very nice. He goes into this idea. You don't see through. So mind is the coordinator of all senses, correct? So a mind can be male mind and feminine mind. Okay, we can have a dominant male mind and a dominant feminine mind. When the mind dissolves, whether the female dissolves or the male completely dissolves or reaches its peak and explodes, that is when you stop seeing through the senses and you perceive directly. We agree to this, we understand this because we studied this in Yoga Sutra, right? Correct? You don't see through thoughts, you see through pure perception. Correct? So first is the understanding of the male and the female mind. So Osho explains, so God is invisible, Adrishya, I'll come into it later. Such a person sees me and I see such a person. उसके लिए मैं अदृश्य नहीं and वो मेरे लिए अदृश्य नहीं. So Krishna बोलते हैं वो मेरे लिए अदृश्य नहीं, which is a very unique statement because we think that भगवान के लिए तो कुछ भी अदृश्य नहीं. But we will come into exploration of that. Oh God, I don't have that other. Okay, I will come back to this slide later. I want to first go into this. So he explains there is a male mind and a feminine mind. There is the masculine mind begins with many, and it's like it sees one in many. Masculine mind is that which sees one in many. Feminine mind is that which sees many in one. Okay, just stay with me. So feminine, so say a woman is, that's why has a ठहराव. Okay, and by woman I mean a woman with a feminine mind. Okay, we can have women with male minds, we can have men with female minds, and vice versa, all of that. So I'm speaking of a woman with a woman mind who can stay with one man, you know, that is how it is. In that one man, she can put everything. It's a very relationship based kind of a mind, that if the son is happy, she is happy. She can see many in one. Okay, just be with me. I'll go into it one by one. Whereas the masculine mind is like a Mahavir's mind. So Mahavir's mind will say that there is no God. If you know yourself, you have seen God, and you will see that everywhere. So the one in many. And the many as Mirabai is a feminine mind. So in Krishna, she can see many. She can scold Krishna. She can fall at Krishna's feet. She can be a servant to Krishna. She can be a mother to Krishna. She can be every. So she finds many emotions, many aspects, and many relationships in that one. Does that make sense? So many in one is feminine. One in many is masculine. Mahavir and Meera. ऐसे इसको समझें, ऐसे इसको देखें. Okay. Now, the path of the feminine is, the feminine mind is something which does not like too much change. It's a more tamasic. See, woman is tamasic. She's connected to that receptivity, the womb, the tehrav. So she does not like too much change. Even if she likes change, she will like trivial kind of changes, jewelry, clothes, that kind of change she's okay with. But a male mind does not care about trivial changes. He can be in the same shirt, same clothes, don't change clothes also doesn't matter to him. But he likes foundational level change. He likes changes. A male mind will like transformational stuff, those kind of changes. This is how a male mind is. So Mahavir will say, if you know yourself, you know God, and everyone is God. The woman will live in the other. Without another, her existence will become non-existent. It's like that. If my son is not there, she doesn't exist. She will exist through the other, like that. Now, Osho bolte hai, if you bring a woman to a man's path, she will not change. She will change the path. So he gives this example. He says, Buddha did not used to initiate women in his sadhana. There were only male monks. And there was a time, I think it was Gautami, who was his aunt, who said, who asked Buddha, are you saying that women are not entitled to truth? You think that they cannot come into liberation? So Buddha said, no, of course not. They can also come to truth. They have every right. They can also come into liberation. So she said, then why don't you initiate women? So Buddha had this fear because the feminine mind is very different. The feminine mind will turned Buddha into a god. It started worshipping Buddha. It changed the whole path itself, That was not the path, but that is how the female mind is. The female mind will fall into devotion, will fall into surrender. The male mind is not like that. The male mind is ego based. It is determination and sankalp based. It wants to crystallize things. तो ओशो बड़ा अच्छा समझाते हैं. वो बोलते हैं, देखो, every river is flowing towards the sea. A female mind is like that. It knows it can come into surrender. That river is going towards the ocean. I will flow with it and it will go with it. It will be truly in a state of surrender and devotion, and it will go. And it's an extraordinary power to be able to surrender like this. They say the water is sometimes more powerful because the water keeps running on these chattan and these rocks, and it creates its own holes and it creates its own new pathways to find a way to the ocean. Water will find its way. This is how surrender is. It is very fluid. It is very thorough. Now, a male mind will come which has learned, which knows how to swim, and it will say, what is this? It wants to get the pleasure of swimming. So it will start going upstream. I will put my determination. The male mind is the mind that will say, I will determine to surrender, but today I could not surrender. Does not matter. Tomorrow I will come with new determination and I will surrender. This is what it does. It will keep strengthening its fist. It will take all its energy. It has lots of energy. So it will take all its energy, keep putting it in all this kasrat. ओशो बोलते हैं उसको कसरत करा, करते रहो, साधना करते रहो, जब तक वो energy खत्म ही नहीं हो जाती. So he says there comes a point where you cannot hold your fist anymore like this. It will come to a point, automatically the fist will loosen. How long will you hold it like this? You cannot. This is a male mind. It wants to hold determination, challenge. I will do it again. Tomorrow I will surrender. I will make it tighter. Third day I will surrender even more, even though I failed today. And then it will automatically loosen up and it will also come into surrender. Ultimately, it's devotion which is the path. And then the male, whether you come into devotion through female mind or you come to it through male mind, ultimate thing is that you have to come into devotion. Only then you can see God and God can see you. That is what is being explained. Okay. So there were some notes which I had got, Osho.
Swati, I wish you had shared this slide about 30 years ago. बहुत काम कम हो जाता.
पर समर्पण होता ही नहीं. समर्पण करने के लिए you have to do all that circus.
No,
energy कहाँ जाएगी?
Just the difference between the male mind and the female mind. I mean, you just hit so many things that I've been experiencing and trying to figure out for 30 years that Raji and I have been together. It is spot on. It's like just explosions going on in my head. It makes complete sense now. But yeah, I thought it was a human thing. We're all different, but that just nailed it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Osho. That's Osho for us.
Unbelievable. That it makes so much sense because we've both been with Sadhguru for 3 years, but the way we've been, our journey has been so different. Now it all makes sense. क्यों ऐसे होता है करके? Because आप जो बोल रहे हैं, exactly that's what's going on in our house, right? Me trying to swim upstream and she's like far ahead, आगे चल रहा है, no logic, nothing, but she's miles ahead, right? And मैं मुट्ठी पकड़ के बैठा हूँ.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Pooja, yes. So Maharishi Patanjali speaks of both paths. He speaks abhyas also. Abhyas se bhi jaya sakta hai, but you need Ishwar Pranidhana. Or you can go through the path of God itself, surrender. Ishwar Pranidhana Dwa, that is the second path. So either through abhyas, but abhyas has to be qualified with devotion. The kriya, tapas, swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhana. That is how your abhyas should be. So those are correct. Maharishi Patanjali. Right? Yeah, he includes both. Maharishi Patanjali's yoga is complete. Okay. So coming back, I think I have complete. Yeah, surrender, bhakti. Okay, this I addressed all of this. The male mind and the female. So Osho bolte hain, understand your type. Are you the one who is sankalp oriented or are you the one who is surrender oriented? See, he also gives a very nice example. He says some people when they read all this and they will say, oh, surrender kar do, trouble hi chuti, surrender hassle free. But that surrender is not surrender because you are the hassle. The hassle is not in surrender. You yourself are the hassle. So it is not like a escapist view of surrender. That is a different path itself. Okay. Are you able to see the slide? Yeah, okay. Then how will you see the formless? Okay. So first understand what is your type, male mind, female mind, both will have to come to zero, into surrender. It will automatically come into that state. And that is when you will be able to see the formless. So we'll now go into that aspect of Bhagwan kaise dikhai dete hain. So, so you have to become a drishta, not through thought. It is when you become a seer, that is when you will see the formless nature of Astitva, O God. And the idea is, see, there is this idea, remember we spoke of, you see things as you are, not as they are, correct? If this maxim is true, it also applies to God. God also can see only as he is and nothing else. That means if he is God, he can also only see you when you become God. Does that make sense? When the seed of Ishvara, so this statement which he says, uske liye main adrishya nahi, because he has exploded the seed of God within him, और वो मेरे लिए अदृश्य नहीं, because he has exploded the seed, I have exploded the seed, so we can mirror each other. Does that make sense? That is, so it's a very, it's like almost like a juvenile bhakti is, oh, God is always watching. That's a juvenile level of bhakti. It's a, let me just say immature, or just a starting level, go Bhagwan kar raha hai, karte jao. It's just culturally how bhakti is seen, or God has his eyes on me. And here Krishna is saying that I can only see you when you are like that. It's a very unique sort of a statement that he has made, and this is how Osho has explained it. Tattva Anubhav is darshan, not chintan and manan. Correct. So vichar se nahi aayega. This seeing will not happen through vichar, through chintan and manan. It will happen through darshan. When you become the seer, that is when it will happen. I wanted to, oh, I missed it. Okay, never mind. So we see form and not formlessness, correct? We always see form because the window frame gets stuck. Why we are not able to see formlessness. We cannot see formlessness till we become seer, till we become established in drishta. Tada drashtu swarupe vasthanam. We have to come into that state, which will happen when chitta vritti nirodha happens of yoga. Now, so I think I should come into the third slide on this. We see how to be a drishta, okay, here. So God should be able to see us no matter what. What does it mean that God cannot see us? We can be adrishya for him. How? Okay, that's the point. So how do you see formless, and how does God see us? Now, we see things not as they are, but as who we are. I explained that. Then each reflects the other. Formless is too pure to catch our reflection. Please understand. So formless is very pure. We have our impurities in us. So impurities cannot reflect in that formlessness. It's too pure. It will not catch it. Only when you become pure, see, the funda is basically just this. If the seed of Ishvara explodes in you, you see the Ishvara and the Ishvara sees you. That is what it is. I'm not sure if I had recently, I don't know if I shared this on our group chat, but on enlightenment, that story, there were different stories that Sadhguru speaks of, and he says, see, people can become enlightened. Ordinary people can also become enlightened. And he said, once I was in the vegetable market, and there was this vegetable seller, and I looked at him and I was like, Are, you are sitting here selling vegetables? Because he recognized him as enlightened. And that vegetable seller also recognized Sadhguru as enlightened. He said, I went with him. He took me inside and he said, I was very sick and my family was looking after me. I was on bed. I could not move. And for some months, they kept looking after me. I was not getting better, nothing. After some time, they also gave up on me. Slowly, my wife, my children, people did not visit me as often. They did not come. And he said, in that pain, I had this moment of enlightenment happened to him like that. And then after that, he healed. And this Sadhguru speaks of, this is a real true life story. And I am reminded of that because one enlightened person saw the other enlightened person. This is what it means. कि उसके लिए मैं अदृश्य नहीं, मेरे लिए वो अदृश्य नहीं. Okay. Now, निराकार आकार से कैसे मिलेगा? That which is form, think of it logically. How can something which is formless meet something which is form? Say ocean, consider ocean. It is formless and a drop has form. How will the ocean meet the drop? The drop has to merge in the ocean, no? So that also has to become formless, correct? And if the drop says, I want to meet the ocean, that which is formless, with it cannot retain its form and meet the formless. It has to destroy itself. It has to merge into that ocean to meet it, correct? So nirakar आकार से नहीं मिल सकता. You cannot stick the window frame on the sky and say, I know the vast sky. No, you don't know the vast sky till you have broken all the frames and gone under the vast sky. So Osho explains that Mahavir, who is the male mind, his ego starts becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And it comes to a point where it becomes so small it explodes and disappears. So he explains this story through the story of Ramakrishna. He says there was a man who came to Ramakrishna, very egotistical, arrogant man, and but he came to meet Ramakrishna. He bought thousands of gold coins in a sack, and then when he offered it, he almost threw it because he wanted everyone to hear the clinking and clanking of those gold coins, and gave it to Ramakrishna. So Ramakrishna says, इतना आवाज क्यों करने की जरूरत? So he says, नहीं, वो तो मैं फेंक रहा था, इसीलिए आवाज हुई. So he says, I wanted to come offer this to you. So Ramakrishna says, thank you very much. I have accepted it. Now go throw it in the river. So he's like, it hurts him. 1,000 coins I offered and you're telling me to throw. He said, you wanted me to accept. I have accepted. Now it's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. So I'm telling you, go throw it. So this man carries a sack, goes to the river. Now he has such trouble. But he's a male mind. He's arrogant. It is like this. Ego works by crystallizing arrogance, by crystallizing ego. See, you will notice many people on the spiritual path, sometimes they will reach a point of arrogance. It is part of the journey. It's like crystallizing the ego so that then it crumbles, it explodes. It is also a part of sadhana. It's like that. So he told this man, you go throw it in the river. Now when he's throwing, he picks up each coin, counts 600, 599, 598, and then it takes him so much time, and then he throws and he comes back. He said, जब फेंकना ही था तो सब एक साथ क्यों नहीं फेंका, गिन गिन कर क्यों फेंक रहा था? But this is how a male mind works. It will go step by step by step. It's linear. If a female mind had to work, it will just go throw everything in one go. Gaya, surrendered, de diya. It's like, so that's the way he has explained the difference between the male and female. So Osho bolte hain that whatever form happens, it happens because of the presence of the other. Because there is another that is present, that is why a form gets created, and boundary happens. Boundaries happen because there is another that is present. Now, he goes on to say that, if your boundary of your house is happening because there's another house next to you, isn't it? So this makes it mine. Suppose there were no houses next to you. It was just a large expanse. Will there be such thing as this is mine and that is mine? Nations. Boundaries are existing because there is one. If there was nobody, there was nothing, there'd be no boundaries around you. So there is one way is the masculine mind's way, where you become arrogant, crystallize your ego. It keeps becoming smaller and smaller, like throwing those coins, and then it becomes zero. That is one way of coming into no mind. The Mira's way, or the female way of rising beyond ego or the mind, is make everything yours. Remove all boundaries. ये भी मेरा, वो भी मेरा, सब में कृष्ण को देख लिया. Many in that one, So you expand your ego so much that it's not my son, that son, everything is mine. Sab apne. So ये जो अपनापन है, ये जो warmth है, this is so, which is so unique to India, our culture also. Make everybody yours. This is another way of going transcending your ego, because now everybody is mine. There is no boundary. So क्या फर्क पड़ता है? तो किसी को अपना मान के अगर कुछ भी बोला तो उसमें कुछ भी ईगो नहीं है, because I consider you also as mine. So it's not like, oh, it's a neighbor's daughter who's coming and sitting and wasting her time and spoiling her back on the couch. If I consider her as also mine, I will tell her, don't do this. I will think of her well-being also, just like I think of my daughters, isn't it? So can your ego expand so much that it includes everybody? That's a female mind ego. Then you come into drishta. तो ओशो बोलते हैं असीम का असीम से मिलन हो सकता है. फॉर्मलेस कैन मीट द फॉर्मलेस. लिमिटेड फॉर्म बेस्ड कैन मीट द फॉर्म. But sorry, I don't know why I got that. The bottom line is, burst the seed of God inside you and you will see the formless. You come into drishta. Does that make sense? Okay. I think the next slide, we'll take it next time. If you have any thoughts, questions, actually, let me see. It was one take from Swami Sarvapriyananda's work. Form and formlessness are not related. How to make them meet if they meet? Okay. Total illumination can be accomplished by surrendering to God. Samadhi, Siddhi, Ishwar Pranidhana. So yes, devotion, ultimately it's surrender which happens. Verse 28 and 29. I will take this up next time. I think I need to go through some of this. All right. Yes, if anybody else has anything to say, share. We're moving very slowly. That's how it is.
This chapter is like very it's like, I think, most familiar, even though I'm listening to it for the first time.
It is, because for me, Dhyan chapter is the most familiar because we've done Yoga Sutras.
Yeah.
And Dhyan is everything that he's sharing is all Yoga Sutras. For me, it was fully Yoga Sutras. People who studied that chapter, people who studied Yoga Sutras, this chapter is just a repetition of that, like a condensed version of that. It really is. ध्यान महर्षि पतंजलि से अच्छा कौन समझाएगा?
Yeah.
So it really is that. Anything else? Any more thoughts? No? Okay, then let's take the closing mantra. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay. I will see you. I will confirm.